Hi, and welcome to Exploring Coding and Robotics with Legos. My name is AJ Rogg. I'm an MLTI ambassador. I'm in my second year. I'm a computer science teacher coming from Portland at Lyman Moore Middle School. And my colleague Allison Braley and I designed this PD session to kind of familiarize yourself with Lego kits. So we're going to get started here. If you would like to have the slideshow open while I am going through this slide deck, up at the top where it says the tiny URL, please go ahead and click on that, and you'll have your own copy of this PD session with all the links. Most of the pictures throughout this slideshow are links to the various places that we'll be talking about today. So before we get started, I do want to talk about our MLTI student conference that's coming up May 22nd. Uh, it's a wonderful activity where students come to the University of Maine. We have a bunch of student and teacher presenters presenting fun activities. Each student will have two one-hour sessions to learn new and exciting programs, anywhere from drone flying to 3D drawing to coding. So love to have you sign up and bring your students with you. If you have any questions, go ahead and scan that QR code, and that'll give you a lot more information about the day. Food is provided, transportation is provided with a reimbursement for your buses. So it should be a monetarily very easy lift. Finding chaperones and stuff like that, that is something that you will need to do. I think it's one per five, so one chaperone for every five students. So love to see you there. Hopefully you can make it. All right, let's get started with our PD session on Legos. So the first thing we really need you to know is there are two sets of sets that were sent out. So the essential was the elementary version. So if you're an elementary school teacher and you received your kit, you probably have the essentials. If you were middle school or high school, you should have received the prime kits. Most of the work I'm going to be talking about today is through the prime kit, but I will kind of veer off a little bit and show a couple of steps just to get into the essential kit. But pretty much the activities run exactly the same. So even though I'm showing the Spike Prime, the process for creating and coding are almost identical. So the first thing you'll need to do is figure out how to get your students to the actual app. So there are a few ways to do that. One, if you have Chromebooks, since we're not able to hold a program on Chromebooks, you're going to use this web app. And you can use this web app on your Mac or your iPad as well. But I will say that if you have iPads, there is an app for that you would download. It would make things a lot easier. And also on the MacBook, you also have that download as well. This link right here will take you out to the actual app site so you can see exactly where you need to go. And if you click on the Chromebook page, if you click on this, it will actually launch that web app for you. So those are ways for you to get there today, or if you forget and you want to bring your students there, this is a place that you could actually come back and get the address for that. All right, so today we're gonna kind of start off with where do I start with these Lego kits? So the Lego kits come with peripherals. Those are like the sensors that come with the kit, and there's also the hub. So the best way to start working with your students around these Lego kits is to actually work through the tutorials that have the students practice using those peripherals so they know how they work. So those peripherals come in these tutorial activities. So I'm going to go to this prime activity and kind of show you that we have this light matrix. You have a couple motors inside. You have a color sensor, distance sensor, force sensor, And then within the hub is also a gyro sensor. So you kind of gives it knows if it's moving around, which is kind of cool. So when I click into this, you'll see these activities. These activities run just like the units do. They're just a little bit shorter because you're just dealing with one device. But when you click on the light matrix, it'll say learn how to display a smiley face. So to run through this, it's very simple. It tells you how many steps you have, what step you're on. You have great pictures to show, and you're going to just run through the steps. The first thing you will have to do is connect to your hub. So when you connect to your hub, you want to make sure that your hub is on. Make sure that the light is green. If it's white, you might need to update. If it's already updated, it will tell you that. The updates usually take between 30 and 40 seconds. Ideally, it's best if you do that before, but if you don't, just plan on there's a possibility that your hub will update or on your kids, so they might just have to wait a couple seconds to get caught up. Once they go ahead and hit that green button, they have a couple choices. There is a Bluetooth version. If that Bluetooth version works, that's awesome. There is the version down here that says connect with USB cable. So if you're having tough time getting your Bluetooth to work, the USB cable does allow you to have a connection without that Bluetooth. But ideally, the Bluetooth connection would be where you would want to try to start with your students. And that's why these tutorials are great because this is that first time they're actually connecting. So instead of worrying about a big build in a unit, you are worried about just trying to get a smiley face on the hub. So this might take an entire class with kids updating their hubs, uh, learning how to connect to Bluetooth, having to switch to that cable if need be. So these are a great way to kind of just see how things go at the beginning. And once they've kind of mastered it, it becomes a lot easier. They know how to troubleshoot. You know how to troubleshoot. They've been through the process before, and that way the builds can go a lot quicker. So usually how I start is to go through each and every one of these tutorials. So I would go, let's see if I can back out here. There we go. So I would run through the light matrix. When kids can get the smiley face, they work into the motor. The motor one is basically connecting the motor and coding your motor to run. That looks kind of like this. So they show how to connect. It says port A. It's really hard to see, but above each of these ports are letters. So we have A, B, C, and then D, E, F are on the other side. And it's really important that they know which one they're plugging into because when they're coding, they have to tell the code what port is being used. So obviously you're going to connect. And once you've connected, you're going to go into your um, session here. And in the lesson, there is a little guide over here. You're on step 3 of 7. You're going to see this motion to bring out this program block, and it's just going to run you through how to get the motor to actually run. So let's back out of this. And again, the color, distance, force sensor, and gyro sensor all have similar activities. So this may take a day, this may take 2 days, but it's to me, it's a really important piece to have the kids understand how the peripherals work. Getting that hub to connect, understanding how to use the Bluetooth. If they can't, troubleshoot with the cord, and just having a really good understanding of the basics before we go into any unit and try to build. All right, so we've worked through the prime tutorials. On the essential side, you will see that there are different peripherals. So they have a light, but not a distance sensor or a force sensor. So that's one thing that's different. They do have the gyro and they do have a motor, but the activities will run almost identical to what they did in the Prime. So if you have an Essential, go ahead and click on that and take a look at those. If you'd like, you can pause the video right now and take a little time since we just talked about it and how to get there. Both of these are links to the different tutorials. You have the Essentials and the Prime. Take some time to go through making the light matrix, make a smiley face, grab one of the other peripherals and get it to work, just to kind of get an understanding, make sure that your hub is updated, and make sure that it's connecting through Bluetooth, or if not, making sure that the cord is working. All right, I'll see you back in a few minutes. All right, so the units are a little bit different because you're now asking for them to create uh, items using the Legos and then adding the peripherals to make those Legos either sense things or move things depending on what you're asking. So there are lots of different units. The units look like this. So we have a what's called the Invention Squad unit. This is probably a good place to start. If you click into here, you have, I think, 4 activities, and at the bottom is kind of an overall last item, and it really is showing you what you were teaching throughout this whole lesson. So all 4 of these um, activities were talking about the design process. So we're talking about defining a problem, creating prototypes, testing effectively, and evaluating and iterating. So that is all that design process. This one is obviously a longer piece. It is almost twice as long because they're doing a little more creation. These, they have the blocks to follow and what to make and the code. And so it's a little more scripted, where the last one is a little less scripted. Okay. We have Kickstart Business. Again, this one is decomposing a problem, debugging programs, recognizing patterns, using conditional statements, and exploring compounds for optimizing algorithms. So this is one really focused around algorithms. All right. Um, so what we're going to do now is we are going to go and have you work on the interface. So when you begin your units, you're going to open up and see that there is a little video that you can watch. That's up to you. The video just kind of gives an overall picture of what the students will be doing. Then there is the build section. Obviously, you want to build the item before you code the item, so that comes first. So what that looks like is when you are building, it's going to go step by step on exactly what you're going to build. So I'm going to show you the break dancer. So here's that video piece. It's one of 7. So that's 7 total steps for completion. That's video, building, and coding. So if you want to watch the video, you would click here. If you want to move on to the build, you would click that arrow to the right. And right here where it says build, go ahead and click on that. Now, the break dancer comes in 2 parts. There's 18 steps to build the legs, and then there are 15 steps to build the body. Those steps look like this. Now, this hub is usually already created. This is the gyroscope or the gyro sensor. It's already in most of your kits, but if it's not, go ahead and put it in. But this step might already be done for you. And then you're going to see that it gives you the pieces you need and then how to put the pieces together. The top picture is the total picture that you're creating. So this one is just to kind of show you what you're making in completion, but you really want to pay attention to what pieces you're using in this step and how those pieces go together. And then slowly you just start putting all these pieces together until you get to that final step 18, where you've got the legs created for the dance moves. There you go. And then you would move on to the body and follow those. So that is how the unit runs there. So you would go through that process, creating the body, and then finally connecting both pieces together to have your breakdancer. Um, Here it's showing you those that F is going to be this one motor, D is another motor, and then the light is going to be in B. So that's kind of the ideal understanding before you go and code. Now, once you're done with the building instructions, you go ahead and hit the X and move to the right. You're going to need to connect your hub. And once you connect your hub, you already have preset code. Now, what they're going to have you do is do some adjustments to that code to get your breakdancer to move in sync and add some music and things like that. So that's where you're going to start using these arrows over here to move in a progression of making some iterations and changes to your code that they've already given you to make certain things happen. So you might have to scroll. There are hints. If you need a hint, it will kind of show you try something like this. So if you're kind of stuck and you're not really quite sure what to do, the hints are there for you. Obviously, it's also there for the students, but see if you can try to get them to do that without the hints would be great. All right. So in a nutshell, this is kind of how it works. The units, again, mostly come with pre-done code that you are just kind of changing. You may add some to it. You may add your own blocks at certain times. They will give you these little notes on the side to kind of like, hey, adjust the timing here, place stacks of breakdancers in position. So notes, preset code, hints, everything's there to be successful. So enjoy that. And what I'd like to do right now is to give you, again, I'll give you a little bit of pause time if you'd like to pause the video, and you can go ahead and build your breakdancer, go through the activity, try it out, see if you're successful. Use those hints if you absolutely need to. And if you don't like the breakdancer one, feel free to try any of the unit activities, but try to make sure you're grabbing one that you're going to probably use with your students so that you have that knowledge of that one for before you get started. All right, so a couple things I like to let teachers know that they should probably think around is creating teams for each kit. If you have 2 or 3 students responsible for a whole kit, then you at least know if things go missing or things are in disarray, you know who to talk to instead of trying to figure out who in the class had that kit last. So assigning kits is really, really important. Keeping timekeeping is essential for like your sanity. So making sure you're paying attention to the clock because the builds can be can take a little bit of time. You have to decide, do I have to break down each of these creations because I've got another group coming in that needs the kit? Or are you in the luxury of having one kit per group and that kit is theirs for the entire unit? That would be ideal. Create an area for recharging. So obviously those hubs need to be charged. Don't really want to be charging them in the middle of class. So at the end of each class, having a hub where kids can go and connect their hub. Making sure you have stickers that match, the numbers match the kits so they know which hub is theirs. Probably the hardest thing around uh, the Lego pieces is keeping track of them and making sure that they don't walk away in pockets and go home with students. So trying to find a way to really, keep track of keep track of the Legos and the pieces that are in the kit so that when you use them again, everything can be built and you're not missing pieces. And then obviously whatever classroom rules and management that you think would be needed for your class. So finally, we have these teacher resources. We have some links to Prime videos and resources. These will kind of give you some clues and some lesson plans. And again, I have those resources and videos for the essential kits as well. This is our amazing crew. If you have any questions specific to Legos, please feel free to reach out to me or Allison. We are not the only two that know how to work with the Legos. Many of the ambassadors and DOE um, employees on this list in front of you know exactly what to do. So we will put you in touch with somebody who can have a conversation with you live or through email or text, whatever works best for you, so that we can get you up and running would be awesome. So please feel free to reach out to us. You've got the email down below, that lttdoe@maine.gov.